Everyone's always going on about, oh, I pay too much tax. The 1% don't pay their fair tax. Corporations are always avoiding tax, using tax havens, blah, 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 blah. Small-minded shit. Whinging about paying too much tax or too little tax is black and white robot thinking, okay? Normies are always advocating for a flat tax system, or a progressive tax system, or a fair tax system, whatever that means. I am yet to hear one person seriously suggest that what's wrong with the tax system is that it's not spiritually aligned. Because if we really want a successful and booming economy, the answer's obvious. We shouldn't be taxing people based on income or profit or anything earthly like that. We need a tax system aligned with the universe. We should tax people based on numerology and astrology. Now hear me out, there will be a few problems seeing as financial years don't completely line up with lunar years. That is a small risk to take, seeing as our current tax system doesn't seem to take into account our life path numbers or star signs whatsoever. This is how it'll work. Just for an example, let's choose someone. Everyone always whines about avoiding tax just to see how much tax they're cosmically avoiding. Michael West won't shut the fuck up about Rupert Murdoch's companies paying very little tax, article after article. What West fails to mention is that Rupert is a Pisces. And listen to what Glamour Magazine UK says about Pisces. Pisces is a water sign that is connected to feelings over practicalities, but they can follow their instincts and put their money into brilliant projects. With planets in Pisces, we might invest in things that make us feel good. Holidays, art, passion project, business ideas, or simply in being generous and always buying the round. Why should we tax Rupert highly when he's a brilliant, sensitive Pisces who puts his money into avant-garde artistic endeavours such as the ingenious performance art channel Sky News? He's generous enough with his money platforming some of the most creative dreamers the world has ever seen. You think this guy would have had any luck without Rupert, the sensitive Pisces, at the helm? Furthermore, he was born in the year of the goat, and goat people are extremely helpful, sincere, kind and empathetic without the government taxing them to the high heavens, thank you very much. Unfortunately, no country presently seems to be taking my proposal seriously. We are far from getting an astrological tax system, but I will say at least Australia is doing marginally better than when the Liberals were in. Alright, did that intro make tax exciting? Can't believe you're still watching this shit, frankly. Sorry, no more getting around to it today. We are going to be talking about tax, but really, what is tax other than the government's way of hustling hard, hey? Also, maybe we'll talk a little bit more about star signs if you're lucky. And, you know what? Just to complete the Instagram Reels trifecta, we'll also talk a bit about cryptocurrency. Hustling hard, crypto, star signs. If you know, you know. I don't know. Earlier this year, Australia became one of the first countries to legislate what around 140 OECD nations agreed to, which is a 15% minimum corporate tax rate for large multinationals. This is there as a baseline of tax paid to whatever country a multinational may operate out of, preventing them from a race to a bottom where the countries haul themselves out to multinationals offering lower and lower tax rates. This is just the start of recent good news about tax. You bored yet? No gags, just shut the fuck up and listen. It was just announced that the ATO's Tax Avoidance Task Force raked in a record $6.4 billion last financial year, mostly from calmly dismantling large fossil fuel companies in court, contributing to the first budget surplus in 15 years. And yes, I know that there's going to be a bunch of people out there that say that, you know, surpluses aren't an indicator of good economic management. Yeah, but you have to admit that it is funny that basically all the Liberals have been running on over the last 10 years is, we're going to deliver a surplus. And then they're out, Labor's in for a year, they get a surplus. With the added bonus of Medicare not being gutted, best of both worlds. I know Australia's still in a structural deficit, but that's going to take more than a year to fix. Maybe they'll take astrological taxing, maybe, who knows? But at least all of what I just mentioned is only the beginning. Treasurer Jim Chalmers recently unveiled draft legislation and began consultation on a raft of new measures to close tax avoidance loopholes. Hopefully this time, secret info on the laws isn't going to be used by consultants to help out their other clients. Do you get that reference? Did you follow that whole PricewaterhouseCoopers scandal? Yeah, me either. Okay, I did, but only because I thought PricewaterhouseCoopers was the name of the Three Stooges. We're meant to help them avoid tax, not help them pay tax, you numbskull. Basically, over its decade in power, the Liberal Party destroyed Australia's public service, instead choosing to rely on private consultants. Yeah, great economic logic. Why pay the modest salaries of career public servants when you can pay way more to support the coke habits of failed lawyers come PowerPoint makers? Over the Liberals' decade in power, the federal government contracts to the Big Four consultancy firms rose by 400%. And very interesting tidbit, between 2016 and 2019, employed Australian use of cocaine also rose dramatically. Fancy that. Anyway, round the start of their term, the Liberal government contracted Peter Collins of consultancy firm PricewaterhouseCoopers, PwC, to prepare advice on how to clamp down on multinational tax avoidance. In that, Peter helped design the multinational anti-avoidance law, designed to close tax avoidance loopholes. But PwC doesn't just provide useless slides to the government. Oh no, sometimes they provide very useful PowerPoints to certain multinational corporations. Yeah, Peter Collins leaked confidential government information to other parties at PwC, who then used this information to help multinationals like Google, Uber, and Facebook restructure to skirt the legislation that Peter helped design. I mean, consultants are all about efficiency. You can't get much more efficient than that. Having consultants in charge of designing anti-tax avoidance legislation is like putting 1-4 in charge of the prison system, or like putting Mick Fuller in charge of the police. And oh wait, the Liberals did one of those things, so I don't even know why I'm surprised about this one, frankly. All right, a little throwback, but do you remember this guy? Barilaro's man in New South Wales Police. Come on, see my live show for more. After leaving the role of New South Wales Police Commissioner under quite strange, unexplained circumstances, Mick Fuller took a job at PwC. This becomes really interesting, as when the AFP were tasked with investigating the PwC scandal, it came out that Fuller was quite friendly with the current AFP Commissioner Reece Kershaw, and that together they crafted AFP contracts for PwC. It is going to take years to unravel the aurora boreas of public servant to consultant to public servant patronage that the Liberals helped flourish on both state and federal levels over the last 10 years they were in power. And this is secondary, but PwC, I know you're under scrutiny for this whole multinational tax avoidance, but if there was any indication, Jesus Christ, the next thing you need to do is fire Mick Fuller. Why would you continue to employ a guy who's been condemned by the police integrity body as breaching their rules over his secret ownership of racehorses with suspects in criminal investigations? Anyway, in the wake of that scandal, Labor have announced further regulation of the tax advice industry, giving greater power to the ATO and Tax Practitioners Board to prevent shit like this from happening in the future. I mean, another good way they're preventing it is just unprivatising the public service. That is a very good start, but they've also proposed harsher penalties for the cheats. Increasing maximum penalties for advisors and firms that promote tax avoidance schemes from 7.8 million to over 780 million. That is literally 100 times bigger. Fuck me. Treasury is also proposing making it easier for the ATO to take tax avoidance promoters to court, increasing the time limit for the ATO to bring federal court proceedings on promoter penalties from 4 years to 6 years after the conduct occurred, along with the Tax Practitioners Board more time to complete these investigations. So yeah, let's all hope these go through. Except for me, I do make my money from Google, so the less they have to pay in tax, the more money for me, stooge. But now for something that I do care about, being a YouTuber and all, I naturally invested heavily in Ethereum and envy how much those guys that jumped out of skyscrapers in the 30s lost, frankly. So Chalmers, do something. Good news is Treasury has also released a proposal paper on the regulation of crypto. And I know everyone a year or two ago would have thought, fuck off, don't be like Larry David in the FTX ad. Holy shit. What an oracle Larry turned out to be, eh? Obviously why he did the ad, he didn't need the money, he genuinely wanted to warn us. Typical cancer move. General rule of thumb should be anything that Logan Paul makes bank off of probably needs a lot of regulation. Think about it, sports drinks, combat sports, crypto. YouTube's fine though. If for some reason you still need more convincing that the crypto industry needs some sort of government regulation, watch this video. Come on. We have a crypto guru by the name of Brian Legend operating in this country. Anything that has even a remote chance of holding that man to account needs to be celebrated. Actually, Brian might be an unusual ally in my crusade to get an astrological tax system going. After all, he is a Taurus who's stubborn, so he's going to make bank no matter what. So he'd be cool with shifting large tax burden on Tauruses as they can afford it, obviously. But yeah, how this potential regulation will probably most likely work is it'll make crypto exchanges subject to the same laws that, everything else is subject to. Forcing the operators of these exchanges to acquire financial services licenses doesn't seem like that much of a stretch. So yeah, I don't think Tags Exchange will have much luck once these regulations go through. Don't get the reference? I already told you, go watch the video. God, you're such a Capricorn. Although the paper does propose a carve-out for exchanges that don't hold much capital. But if you are a crypto nut, you really should read the Regulating Digital Asset Platforms proposal paper. It's fascinating in how little it makes sense to me. But there is this great little paragraph on, well, pretty much every crypto scam out, frankly. For example, it is common for early non-retail investors to unlock the value of their equity investments through retail investors, not by selling their equity investment after the successful development of the product or service, but by pre-selling the product or service via tokens in the unregulated secondary market. In some cases, the secondary market sales occur after heavy promotion of the future potential of the product or service, in circumstances that are similar to pump and dump schemes. Wow. Looks like some bureaucrats in Canberra have been binging CoffeeZilla, eh? Maybe some bureaucrats in
the Sunshine Coast, Central Coast, Sydney, Bendigo, Ballarat, and fucking Adelaide
can come see my live show. Just come. It's probably your last chance to see it. Fuck you.